Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in the letter to the Colossians, chapter 3, starting at verse 18 through chapter 14, verse 1. Now, one of the things that's really important for us always to remember is that the Bible is its own interpreter, and that every verse within the Bible is to be interpreted by the rest of the Scripture. And so you really can't take things out of context. You need to understand every verse in the context of the other passages. And so Paul writes, "Wives, submit yourselves to your husbands." Now, in our society, the whole idea of submitting to somebody else sounds horrible. But you need to remember is that wives are to be seen not as property or as, pleasure things. A wife is a helpmate. And Paul's saying, this is actually, the passage that Paul speaks actually elevates women in that time and to say, you work with your husband, submit to him, as is fitting in the Lord. You submit to the Lord, right? And the reference for this also is Ephesians chapter 5. Now it goes on, husbands, love your wives. Now the word there is agape, and it's self-sacrificing love. Don't just love your wives like, oh, you're happy to have a wife. You are to love them where you give yourself totally to your wife. That's what Paul's speaking about there. And don't be harsh with them. It's not your place to treat them as less than what they are, right? Children, obey your parents in everything. This pleases the Lord. Now, actually, there's a blessing that goes along with honor your father and mother so that you may live a long and prosperous life. And again, Paul is following up from the rest of Scripture to emphasize again that children are under the gift of the authority of their parents. Their parents are given to them by God, and their parents are a gift to them, and so obey them. Fathers, don't embitter your children. He's challenging both mothers and fathers to lead with compassion their children into life, but most of all with faith. And so it's not the law that leads children into faith, it's the law and the gospel together, right? And so fathers are to teach the faith so your children won't become embittered or discouraged. And I think one of the things that you think about all of this is that the house, the family, the household is the tiny church, that all the understandings of what it means to be a Christian apply in the home. And the first place where we learn how to be Christian and where we have to really, where the rubber meets the road, is with the people that we live with each every day. Wives know whether their husbands are really Christians by how they treat them at home. Children know whether their fathers really believe in God by the way they treat them at home. And so Paul's encouraging them, live the faith at home. And he goes on, slaves, obey your earthly masters, not only when their eye is on you, but when you're not being watched. They need to understand that in the ancient world, half the population were slaves. That was their form of employment. This is not an endorsement of slavery, but it is the notion that no matter who's watching us, we serve God. We are living to please God, not whoever thinks they're our earthly authority. And then masters, provide your slaves with what is right and fair. You're to take care of them because you also have a master in heaven that you are accountable to. Well, thanks, friends. Have a blessed day.